Live on OBS. We are live on YouTube. Hello world. Welcome to the first ever Rob Plays Patreon live stream in a post Disney Plus era. I hope everybody's having a fantastic time. I was able to pry myself away from Disney Plus long enough for this stream. As usual, we'll kill some time, let people join into the stream, and then we'll get to work. We have a couple of things to work on, but admittedly, maybe not a full hour's worth. We'll see. It really boils down to this thumbnail situation. But long story short, this week's video is done, uploaded, everything's set up except for the subtitles, which we're going to do here on the stream. So you'll get to see tomorrow's video early. And then I have a thumbnail that, worst case scenario, I could export and use, and then I'm all done. But it doesn't feel like it's fully there yet. So probably do a little bit of work on that. And then, you know, once that's all done, I don't know. We'll go watch Disney Plus or something. We'll talk Disney. I'll see where it goes from there. But yeah, this was an interesting video. While we're killing some time, I gotta ask, what did everybody watch? What did everybody watch second? Because I think everybody's been talking about, what are you gonna watch first on Disney Plus? And it's usually, you know, Mandalorian, The Imagineering Story, you know, stuff like Encore, Lady and the Tramp. But it's that second thing. What are you gonna watch second? I noticed last night, I genuinely wasn't expecting everything to go live until today like it was supposed to. And then I saw somebody on online post that their Roku had it up and it was live as of like 1 a.m. And I was just happened to be up. So I went and I downloaded it and I checked. And sure enough, it was indeed working. And The Mandalorian was there. So I fired it up and I watched the first episode at 1 a.m. in the living room in quiet. And then it was that moment after of like, okay, well, now what do I watch? And it was getting late. So instead I got in bed and I had the app on the phone and was just adding everything to the watch list that I was even remotely interested in. And so today, you know, we rewatched Mandalorian so Kat could see it. I watched The Imagineering Story, watched Three Caballeros, watched a couple like the Goofy shorts from back in the day. And we checked out Pixar in real life, which was not very good, if you ask me. And so tonight, maybe going to check out another movie or something. We are going to briefly switch over to HBO for some His Dark Materials, but after that, I'm going to watch something. Anyway, this week's video, now that we can start to jump into things, is about GM's Sun Race in 1990. It was a solar-powered car race that took place from Orlando to Michigan, and it started in Epcot. The Epcot was the starting point for the race, and it made sense. GM was sponsoring World of Motion. It was very futuristic, fitting with an Epcot. And so this video is the history of the race, kind of goes a little bit beforehand into the World Solar Challenge, which is where Sun Race came from. One of those videos where actually the mention of Disney is kind of brief in here, because it really was as simple as it happened at Epcot, and that was it, you know. But I need to set up my subtitles and make sure that they're all timed right. And so that means you all get to watch. Unfortunately, you're watching on a tiny little screen within a screen. I apologize for that. But I need to have the tools underneath so that I can set everything up. And this is a 10-minute, 11-minute long video. So it's going to be a lot of subtitles. Now, like last week's video, the Hulk Hogan one, I tried to do something different. And so this intro is not what I normally would create. It's very stylistically different. I don't know if it's going to work or not, but I enjoyed, you know, trying it out. So let's jump in and just start setting all this stuff up. I apologize ahead of time. It's probably not the best way to watch the video because I'm doing a lot of starting and stopping to adjust where these subtitles come in, but it's an important part of setting up the video. And then we'll jump on to the thumbnail stuff and making sure that thumbnail's good to go. So let's just jump right in. July 9th, 1990. Like most days in Central Florida in July, it was hot. Over in the parking So this happens a lot where it just starts a little late. Lot of Epcot Center sat 32 cars, about to take off on a cross-country race. Tried a different transition there, which I think worked for this sequence. They were racing to prove to themselves that the work they had spent the last year on would pay off. And they were racing for one of 3 spots to go to Australia to take on racers from around the world. The event contained all the excitement and anticipation of a car race, but one thing was absent: the roar of the engines. Because you see, these 32 cars, about to speed off on a 1,600-mile adventure, were powered by that hot July sun. So, a lot of footage from not the race there. Finally got to achieve my dream of working Fast and the Furious footage into a Disney video. But I wanted to really build up this sort of silly melodrama for the race that ended up just being like this really chill race. And yeah, played with sound effects, played with different music, had some fun with it. In 1982, Danish-born and Australian adventurer Hans Tolstrup had an idea. He wanted to build a solar-powered car and drive it across Australia. Now, at the time, it was a bit of a wild concept, but then again, get a lot of instances like this where it's just like one word is off, and it's like, why make the one word its own thing? I also play with new music in this video. That's what Tolstrup excelled in. He had circumnavigated Australia in a speedboat, rafted across the Bass Strait to Tasmania, ridden a motorcycle around the globe, and just generally did the kind of stuff that earned one the title of adventurer. He liked the idea of not only overcoming yet another adventurous challenge, but using that challenge to try and help popularize the idea of solar power and renewable energy. The car he'd end up building was called the Quiet Achiever, and it averaged 15 miles per hour or 24 kilometers per hour. Together with his partner in the endeavor, race car driver Larry Perkins, the two drove the Quiet Achiever from Perth to Sydney. It was a journey that spanned 2,553 miles, or a little over 4,100 kilometers, and lasted 20 days. Like his other adventures, the two completed their challenge, and with the press coverage that the journey brought them, Tolstrup and Perkins began to talk about the idea of organizing solar-powered car rallies in the future to continue the development and promotion of renewable energy. With that, the World Solar Challenge was born. After 4 years of turning the idea into a reality, Australia was ready for its first ever World Solar Challenge race. In November of 1987, 25 solar... This is a new effect that I actually played around with. I've used Google Earth Studio before, but I've finally learned how to use like tracking points in it because I wanted to do the outline of the path and then use like layers but still have camera movement. So you'll see here it's not very visual right now, but it does a push in while still maintaining all these graphics on top of it. Solar-powered cars from 7 nations set off on a race from Darwin to Adelaide. In the end, it was General Motors' car, the Sun Racer, who would win the gold medal with an impressive 2.5-day lead over the second-place car, which was Ford's Model S.
We raced 1,900 miles across Australia, powered only by the sun. GM beat Ford and 23 other entries. The GM Sun Racer, solar tech.
I noticed for these commercials where I have to type in the script, it never lines up well.
Technology from GM's Hughes aircraft subsidiary. Drive motor from the GM Research Laboratories.
MagnaQuench, that's a thing. Found that out.
It's from Delco Remy. Chassis from GM's engineering staffs. A triumph of GM teamwork
There's a little gnat flying around.
And technology. The vision is paying off.
All right.
The race was considered a success, as it got a few major auto manufacturers to develop and work on solar-powered vehicles, and the overall novelty of the race put the idea of solar power in the spotlight for the public.
For a bit was taken out of the script.
The Sun Racer itself cost GM over $8 million to develop. Realistically, nobody expected solar power cars to hit the market anytime soon, if at all, but it was still considered important to get the public thinking
Renewable energy.
about renewable energy. So it was quickly decided to make the World Solar Challenge a regular triennial event. General Motors, having just won the inaugural race, decided to take a different approach to the 1990 World Solar Challenge. They had just seen the amount of press and attention that Australia's event garnered and decided rather than build another solar-powered car themselves, they'd sponsor not just one vehicle from the US, but 3. To find those lucky 3 cars, they'd hold their own race back in the United States. In honor of their car that won the first WSC, they named the event the GM Sun Race USA. The race was announced in March of 1989 and set to take place that following July. The course would span 1,641 miles, from Epcot Center in Orlando, Florida, to General Motors in Warren, Michigan. The race was broken up into 10 legs over 10 days, since, they needed to stick to the daytime to drive. The times and standings for each leg would carry over into the next leg, and by the end of the journey, the team with the shortest total race time would be crowned the winner. The top 2 teams, along with a third team that GM would select on the basis of technological innovation, would all get to go onto the 1990 World Solar Challenge that December. The starting location of the race made perfect sense. While the summer heat would be more of a problem for drivers, it would also emulate the conditions that the winners would have to face over in Australia. Beyond that though, Epcot Center worked because General Motors was the corporate sponsor of World of Motion over at the Transportation Pavilion in the park. It was perfect synergy. They sponsored a ride about the history and potential future of transportation, and here they were putting on a race that pointed a spotlight at the potential future of transportation. And Disney, of course, wasn't about to say no to showing up in the press for this novel and thematically perfect event. GM reached out to 2,000 colleges across the country, and of the 60 schools who returned a proposal for a solar-powered vehicle, 32 were selected to partake in the race. Each team received $5,000 from General Motors, as well as an additional $2,000 from the event's co-sponsor, the U.S. Department of Energy.
A drop in the bucket.
That'd be a drop in the bucket compared to what most of the cars would end up costing. With a price tag of anywhere from $150,000 to $300,000, most of the participating schools sought additional funding and sponsorship from local and national corporations. Still,
oh, right. So I pulled out this second about the University of Texas because I couldn't get photos of the actual university vehicle, and I felt like it really wasn't relevant.
Money was not the only limit. The rules of the race dictated that solar panels could only cover up to 8 square meters of the vehicle, and that racers had to stick to posted speed limits on the road, which was generally 55 miles an hour. Drivers had to weigh at least 180 pounds, and in the event they weighed less than that, extra weight would be added to the vehicle to reach that 180 target. The rules added a level of standardization that kept the emphasis of the race on the efficiency and design of the car, rather than just slapping on as many solar panels as you could.
As many solar panels. There we go. I was so tempted to run to Disney Springs today because they were giving out Disney Plus buttons at their kiosk, but I don't know if it's worth going just for a button.
Design of the car, rather than just slapping on as many solar panels as you could. A year before the race took place, GM brought their Sun Racer to Epcot for a photo op, and so that they could send Indy 500 champion Rick Mears on the road to map out and test the route of the race. After that was completed, the Sun Racer was retired and donated to the Smithsonian. A few days prior to the race, all of the participants traveled to the Daytona Beach International Speedway to take part in time trials that would determine the cars' positions for the start of the race, as well as safety and design tests that ensured that the cars were fit to hit the open road.
We're going to count down from 5, and then you can pop out, and you have 15 seconds.
Whoa. Wait a minute. 15 seconds. Ugh. There's this gnat on my screen.
We're going to count down from 5, and then you can pop out, and you have 15 seconds.
So I'm just going to do this. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. So I can get rid of these.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go.
So that's where it goes till. And then we watch this guy get out of the car. It's very exciting. I always wondered. He looks so nonplussed about it. When I was reading about that and seeing all the safety stuff, I was like, well, these things are going like 20 miles an hour. Like, are they really going to like burst into flames? Do you need to have these rigorous tests? Sure enough, there was a race where one of the cars burst into flames and the driver got away safely. But like, good thing he was able to get out in 15 seconds.
When July 9th finally arrived, the race began and all 32 participants sped off towards Michigan. Okay, so maybe sped off is a little exaggerated. These were experimental designs that utilized solar power technology, so cars typically average speeds of around 20 to 25 miles per hour. The race itself went rather smoothly. Aside from a rainy fourth day that resulted in most cars opting to take a time penalty in order to get towed to the end of that leg, the weather cooperated. The standings shifted from day to day as various cars ran into issues that the driver and their team would have to troubleshoot on the fly. Residents of various towns and cities along the route turned up every day to watch the futuristic vehicles silently glide past. Car culture was a big part of the US's national identity, and so it was no surprise that crowds were fascinated with the possible future of the automobile, even if it did look like a future that wouldn't arrive anytime soon. On the 10th day, it would be the University of Michigan's car, the Sunrunner, who would come in first with a total time of 72 hours, 50 minutes, and 47 seconds. Western Washington University would come in second at 74 hours, 10 minutes, and 6 seconds. The University of Maryland would be the third vehicle sent to the event by GM. However, 3 additional teams from the race, Crowder College, Cal State LA, and Cal Poly Pomona, would all end up finding the funding to partake in
challenge as well. Let's see if we can fit it in there. We can.
The 1990 World Solar Challenge as well. The 3 teams sent to the WSC by GM, University of Michigan, Western Washington University, and University of Maryland, would come in 3rd, 5th, and 7th place respectively. Similar to the World Solar Challenge, the Sun Race would become a regular event, occurring biennially. The race routes would change multiple times, as would the event's name. In 1999, the race would once again return to Epcot, but this time as the finish line. It would begin up north in Washington, D.C. In 2001, the event was renamed to the American Solar Challenge. Then in 2005, it was renamed to the North American Solar Challenge. And then in 2010, they made up their mind and renamed it back to the American Solar Challenge, which it remains today. In 1999, the World Solar Challenge switched from a triennial event to a biennial event, and today both the World Solar Challenge and the American Solar Challenge attract schools and teams from around the world to put their engineering to the test and to harness the power of the sun for a fun tradition. It pushes people to learn, to embrace technology, and to think about the footprint we leave on this earth, all in the name of trying to create a better tomorrow. In its nearly 30-year run, the Sun Race only visited Epcot twice, so it's understandably not a major part of the park's history. Yet at the same time, it so perfectly captured the spirit of Epcot Center.
Boom. All right. Perfect. Save changes. Now, YouTube's been doing this real fun thing where like sometimes it looks like it disappeared and scares me into thinking all that work was for nothing. Hey, Mary. But there it is. Great. Perfect. Publish instantly. Whew. So now we go in and we delete the automatic one, which is just generated on its own. Might as well just have the good subtitles in there. So we unpublish, we delete the draft, delete draft. Panic for a second, thinking we deleted the good one. Nope, there it is. Fantastic. Awesome. So now this is all set up and ready to go, save for the thumbnail, which is now what we're going to work on, because otherwise it's going to be like this guy here from GM. So let me pop this over here into my window real quick. So right here, as you can see, is the thumbnail that I have at the moment. There's a lot I like about this. You know, Racing with the Sun, I think, is a weird, interesting title. I love the color scheme of yellow and blue. Yellow primarily being for the sun, but also you get a little bit of a racing vibe with it. I have the checker flag in the background. I even made this little Mickey Mouse solar panel, which I like. And I realized the smart way to go about this thumbnail was not to go. I could have recreated one of the actual vehicles, but I think without paying attention to it, it wasn't going to jump out as quickly. I think for a thumbnail, it needs to be something as silly as a literal car with a solar panel on top. And I wanted to work the Mickey Mouse into it, so I did that in the solar panel. Now the car I bought this car asset because I knew I was going to struggle to make a car, and it just didn't work well with the yellow background, just like this. So I did this sort of like messy paint background that I thought works fine. And all in all, conceptually, I think this looks okay. I could use this thumbnail if I need to. The only thing that jumps out to me is this car is not my typical style, and it just clashes a little bit with the rest of the thumbnail. So I want to see if there's anything I can do in Photoshop to make it look a little bit closer to what I typically create. The other option being, if I try and open up one of the thumbnails from way back in the day, but those are cars from the 80s, so that might not look good. Mary says, is there going to be video tomorrow? I was preparing mentally for no video. Yes, there will be. I luckily finished it last night, so I was able to spend a day just sort of enjoying Disney Plus. Okay, so my first thought here is maybe the best, because I think what sets this car apart from what I normally do is there's so much more detail. So I'm going to actually make a copy, match the color scheme, and then just try and fill in a lot of this detail so it's more of a plain shape than anything else. For that, let's just get a nice normal hard round brush, shrink it down, and then just start filling in some of this stuff. Like, I'll leave in some detail that I think helps create the 3D illusion, but then like all this little stuff I'll take out. Stuff like this, you know, streak here. We'll leave this thing on the side here. But this can go. Even this can go. Just kind of fill it all in, because I feel like having all these little details makes it look nicer, but at the same time, with a thumbnail, I think a big part of it is giving people an image that they can process almost instantly. And I think the more detail you throw into an image, the harder it is to process it instantly. So the more detail I can pull out of this, I think the better it'll end up looking. And I think it'll also start to match a little bit more what I normally do. Let's see. I was admittedly not expecting anybody to turn up for this live stream, because I figured everybody will be binging some Disney Plus, which for a split second I was like, maybe I cancel the stream and push it to another day, but no, I wanted to do it. So I think this is a big thing I need to fill in here. So let's try this out. We're going to go in. I think we're going to try and fill this in. Here we go. I think we want the windshield, so we'll keep that as is. And then maybe like cut across here. All right. So we're going to fill all this in and see how it looks. I'm afraid that we'll lose some of the car shape, but we'll see. I think I'll also try and simplify some of these, like this line here. I don't want to fill it in completely, but we'll see. I'm not going to lie, with Disney Plus just there beckoning, this is one of those things where, like, if I can't fully get it to work, I'd be fine with using it as is. So, like, this looks a little bit better, a little bit more simplistic at the very least. Caitlin says, not going to lie, Disney Plus wasn't working on the bus, but YouTube was. Well, I appreciate the honesty and totally feel ya. I was looking at my watch list and I was like, maybe I'll just watch stuff. But I had this thumbnail stuff to do. And I probably would have had this video all set up and good to go a little bit earlier, but I ended up having to go in and change a few things. One of the things I wanted to work in, because I always forget, I say I'm going to do it, and then I always forget to do it, is I wanted to work in as text in the lower third metric conversions for things like speeds. Sometimes in the script I'll write in, you know, or X kilometers or whatever, but there was a lot I left out in this script, and so I thought, you know what, why don't I just go in and add it as text, which I did. Okay, so we've got that. Maybe I'll make this side window a little bit more like just straight white here, assuming this is the bottom, and assuming it's gonna go like this. I'm just assuming. There we go. Go up to the top here. All right, I forgot to recolor the really janky like solar panel stand. Okay, let's see. Let's see if this helps. I just want to create more of a basic car shape. This is why I don't buy graphics very often, is because I'll look back at it and go, wow, this is wildly different from the thing I bought. Why did I spend money on this? It's only a couple of bucks, but still. Same thing with the car here. Let's get rid of some of these details. Just like the... I think I'm going to watch the Newsies tonight. One thing I wish Disney didn't do with Disney Plus that they ended up doing was they have a lot of video pages for things that are not there. And if it's like about to come out, that's one thing. But like I saw Maleficent and was like, you know what? I haven't seen this movie. The sequel's out. Why don't I check it out? And I loaded up and it's like Maleficent available like March 2021. And it's like, that's not even next year. That's the year after that. Why is there a product page for this? Just don't list it. You do more to like disappoint people at that point. I am also going to start binge watching Clone Wars because I just have that insatiable Star Wars need. Okay, so we've simplified the stripe on the side here. How's this looking? It's looking more simple. I dig it. I almost wonder if it'd be worth filling in that bit too. This was, for reference, the original. This one. I think this one's a lot easier to make sense out of. Let's see. What would filling this in look like? Let's just try it. Does it lose the shape completely? It kind of does. You know what? Not too badly, though. Like, it still looks like a car. I think I'd just, at this point, do a thin white line, like, from here to maybe, like, here. Something like that. Normally I'd be using shapes for all this, but paint just seems easier. Yeah, something like that. I think this helps. I think this was a big improvement over that. Because then I think if you do the squint test, it's just easier. Maybe do another, like, if I do something like this here. Let's do way off in the distance. Go up to the front here. Like that. And then fill that in. Let's see. Kind of give a little bit more definition of the hood. There we go. Maybe. I don't know. No, I don't love it. Yes, Clone Wars. Yeah, it's weird. It's one of those shows I've started multiple times and I get like a season in and I know everybody says the season after, like seasons after that get so much better, which is great. But I just have to force myself to watch through it. Especially I want to learn more about like all the Mandalorian stuff now with the Mandalorian and, you know, all that fun jazz. All right. So we match the color here a little bit. Now I wonder if I should do more paint. Where's my brush? Let's go back to that weird brush. It was like a rolly brush. Not flames. Sampled brush? This isn't it, but I can always make it. Just wondering if I should make this a little bit more padded. The whole reason for the messiness is I know on a shape like this, if I try and do a stroke, it's not going to look good because it's too complex of a shape. So I kind of almost want to make it look like I'm painting outside of the lines style. And I think I just need to make it all a little bit thicker so that the graphics have more of a chance to pop out from the background. There we go. Something like this. And they have yellow lightsabers. Poof. So that's why they sell them at Batu. Which, let me tell you, I ended up getting the purple crystal, which wasn't my favorite color-wise, but one of the things I really like about the lightsabers at Galaxy's Edge is that they all have like pretty unique and cool sounds. So even though like the white saber and the purple saber were like not really my cup of tea color-wise, they all sound really cool. Okay, so if we do our squint test here, you know, it's good. I think this works. I see a car, I see solar panels, racing with the sun. It's not a Disney title, but then again, I'm trying to pull in a little bit more than just Disney fans. Let's just call this extra paint. Is it better than... Oh, yeah, it's way better with the extra. We can even lower the opacity a little bit, so it just shows that it's not fully there. Car copy can stay hidden. We can try, if we want, putting the title over. Yeah, I like that. Racing with the sun. Not racing against the sun, but with the sun. Mao says, have you bought any of those little pet things at Galaxy's Edge? Like the animals? No. But there's one that I'm willing to buy. And it's unfortunate because, well, no, I think they do the discounts, the AP discounts. I want to get the little cow thing that when you squeeze it, it makes noise and it goes. It looks like a rubber squeak toy for a pet, but I love the sound it makes. So I'd get one of those. The other thing is not so much. All the temple guards have yellow pikes and Ahsoka's second saber is yellow. Interesting. Yeah, that's all the stuff I'm like interested in seeing more of, because my only impression of Ahsoka is kind of like the annoying character from season 1 when it's like the little kid Jedi tagging along with Anakin. But I've seen enough to know that like she grows to way more than that, and I want to get to that point. And I was at a point where I was just like not prepared to spend the money on like 7 seasons of a show or 6 seasons So now that's all on streaming. You know, I'm going to get to work on it. The other thing that I'm going to do on Disney Plus that I can't do in its entirety, but would love to get as far as I can, is doing a full watch through of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. There are a handful of movies. They actually just added a bunch that weren't originally slated to be on the platform, which is really awesome. And hold on, let me. Oh, nope, that's the wrong color. And I think there's only a handful that are left that are not on the platform, and I think those can be found basically on other platforms like Netflix and stuff. Seeing up close that these colors don't match, but they're close enough. All right. There we go. I think we made some big improvements here. Anything down here I can do? This is all fine. This stuff I can clean up a little bit. This isn't even like really a race car, but same effect. That's fine. Clean this up here. Little dots here and there. That's all good. All good, all good. There we go. Got the little mirror there. I guess the hood should be colored in. Now, here's the deal. It's already 7:40. I was going to say, if we're all done, I might just wrap up the stream early because really there's not much left to do. Once I get this installed on the video, all my work is done. And this is kind of when I go into weekend mode, which is never really 2 full days. It's usually like a day and a half. I kind of use today to be most of the day, so really I'll probably do some work tomorrow on whatever next week's video is going to end up being. But yeah, give people a chance to go enjoy their Disney Plus. Which here's my question for everyone in the stream right now. How has Disney Plus been performing for you? Because this morning it seemed like a lot of people were running into issues, and I thought it was fascinating because everybody I knew who was running into issues were mostly in the Northeast, and a lot of people I knew down here were having no problem at all. And I wasn't having any problems either, so I wasn't sure if it was a regional thing. Yeah, this is looking good. Let's save that. Now I'm really intrigued, says Mao, and I know exactly what I'm getting when I go there. Yeah, just look for the squeezy toy that makes great noises. And also, when you go to the area to get all the creatures, look up. There are a couple of cages, and you can look up, and there's some cool stuff up there that's pretty tucked away. Racing with the Sun. I don't think I'm going to do any better than this. If anything, I could do an additional part of the title. I do at Epcot. Racing with the Sun at Epcot. I'm afraid that might be too title heavy, though. Racing with the Sun at Epcot. Is that a better title? Here, let's set this up just so we have it. Convert to shape. Turn these off. I'm almost scared to make a video with a thumbnail that doesn't have a direct Disney call out. There we go. Racing with the Sun at Epcot. Mary says there's no Disney Plus in my country. Yeah, I'd say that's a performance problem. I really hope they roll it out sooner rather than later elsewhere.
because it is a pretty great service. In Houston, no problems here. It was okay around 6 a.m. in Baltimore. More issues later. Still no app for Samsung TV. Ooh, they're taking their time. I only decided to do my phone and our Roku because I figure I don't really stream on the PlayStation anymore. All right. Racing with the Sun or Racing with the Sun at Epcot? Jet says, how can you watch Disney Plus on a PC, Windows? All you have to do is head on over to disneyplus.com. It's all in browser like Netflix and stuff. I don't know if there's like a Windows app the way there is a Netflix Windows app, but like I was loading stuff up just in the browser on, Chrome, Firefox, whatever. I'm really not sure which title to go with here. And the title of the video is Racing with the Sun at Epcot Center. Oh, okay. Well, I guess maybe we'll do this then, because that makes sense. All right, let's save it. I have the file anyway, so if tomorrow I decide to change it, I can. So now that I've saved it, what I do, this is in 4K. This is a 4K thumbnail. Way too big to upload. So what I do is I go in, I've saved it now, so everything past here I don't have to save. I do 1920 by 1080. Do a nice little 1080 version of this. Let it shrink down. And then we save as. And then we're going to go put that in our exports here. We've got Sunrace. Save it as a PNG. And I do Sunrace A. We'll save. The size of the letters are a bit off. I mean, yes, I didn't want the Epcot to be as big as Sun and Racing. I kind of wanted them all be done different because I think having a uniform title makes it easier for the mind to just not pay attention. So I go with smaller here and there. For me, it was placement was a little nervous about the placement there, but I think it works. Maybe if I move the @ over here, so it's like at Epcot. Racing with the Sun at Epcot, but then it becomes, I think, too much. I think having it over there is fine. Racing with the Sun at Epcot. And it's far enough down that nobody will read it as Racing with the @Sun Epcot. And then what I do is I go in and I make another smaller version, 1280 by 720. Sometimes the 1080 version is still too large for YouTube. And so we do save as Sunrace B. I also use the small one I promote it on Twitter, just because I don't know how everybody's Twitter app works, and I don't want to like giant thumbnail. And then what I'll usually do is just close out of here without saving, or I could just, in this case, go back and undo the size changes. So if I need to make anything, move anything around, I can. And then we'll go in here and we will do a custom thumbnail. I will try A. It'll usually tell me if A is too big. Yep, too big. So let's try B. All right, we got our thumbnail. We've got our tags, description, set the time. Got everything here. Got all our end screen, cards, subtitles, save changes. Great. When it's over 10 minutes for monetization, I enable an after video, but for something like this, it's 11 minutes. I'm not going to put an ad in the middle. That is annoying. Great. And then we'll copy this here and we'll do a little tweet setup here this week. And I'm not showing it just because I have all my other Twitter stuff. This week I take a look at the time that Epcot Center hosted the start of a solar-powered car race across the country. Sunrace USA. Put in the link, throw in that thumbnail, schedule our tweet. Wednesday at 11:04 a.m. Sure. Tweet at 11:04 a.m. Great. And now I can safely say this video is ready to go.
there you have it. We're going to wrap things up a little bit earlier this week. It's 15 minutes early, but yep, this is kind of where I go video done. You know, I'll check in tomorrow as it goes live, answer comments, things like that. But for the most part, the whole process is over, and now I get started on next week's, which I'm not 100% sure what it's going to be yet, but we'll see. I don't know. Play with something fun. I want to thank you all for joining me this week. Just a quick house cleaning for Patreon stuff. So I've mentioned it in past weeks, but I want to mention it again. This month will probably be the last month where these are occurring on a Tuesday evening. I'm going to probably push them to Monday evening for December onward, because I think by Monday, there's a little bit more to do than a video. Tuesdays, typically, this is all that's left is thumbnail maybe and little setups here and there. But Monday, you know, a video might not necessarily be done, so there'll be some freedom to actually work on the video, do a little bit of animating, show you guys things like Google Earth Studio and all the fun stuff that shows up in a video. So keep an eye out in December for the new date and time. It'll probably be the same time of evening, just one day earlier. And have a fantastic week. Whatever you're doing, make the most of it. Makes it that much better. If you're somewhere with Disney Plus and you're enjoying it. But wherever you are, enjoy your week. And I will see you all next time for the next live stream, where who knows what we'll be working on. I'll see you all then. Bye, everybody. Now, where's that stop streaming button? I wish I had a button I could just hit so I'd have like a nice smooth exit, but instead I just have to like stretch this out until I click the button, which is right